The night dark, the rain relentless. And yet, you drive safely. Perhaps you have the eyes of a puma piercing the dark. Or a bullfrog seeing through the wetness blurs and glares. Or could it be your Bosch Night Performance wiper blades wiping this whole time? So adapted to the dangers of driving on stormy nights, it's almost as if you are too. Night vision has evolved. Bosch Night Performance wiper blades.
Glad Force Flex Max Strength now has bags with a 2 times stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when cooking your first turkey.
Why is this thing still hard as a rock? It's been in the oven for hours. Wait, hang on. What do you mean I was supposed to start thawing yesterday? And there's a plastic bag inside? Who's in the mood for takeout?
Glad Force Flex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2 times stronger top versus 13-gallon Force Flex bags.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
FunBelt Podcast.
It's just a great conference that is at a point right now where they're, I think, clearly the best Group of 5 conference in the country.
The state of Sunbelt football is the strongest in our history.
And we got to continue to showcase what our league is about.
This league is insane.
Yeah, it might be like one of those 8 wonders of the world.
And you can see just what a great Group of 5 conference it really is.
It's a big deal.
Boy, life is looking pretty good in the Sunbelt these days.
FunBelt Podcast episode, what are we, 14 or 15? It's 15, right?
We're at 15, man. We're right there, way past the baker's dozen. We're rolling on.
Good gravy. My name's Jeremy Harper. I write howlrazor.com. I'm with Dusty Thibodeau of the Warhawk Report. We are without the services of our other partner in crime, Ben Moore. He's out for the day. It's just going to be us. And normally we would talk a little bit about football because we're in the middle of football season, but we are going to talk a little bit about Sunbelt basketball today, considering that practice has started, official practices have started. Dusty, what do the Warhawks look like this year?
Yeah, I think the Warhawks for basketball, it's going to be a year where they have a lot of new faces on the roster. They just got to kind of get these guys to play together. Yeah. And their success really is determined by how quickly they gel and how quickly, Coach Richard can kind of get them playing as one. We've seen in the past where he had a new roster back in the days of Nick Capola and Tyler Ongwai and that whole crew. He got them going the first year, and, it was a great run there, those 3-4 years of constantly going into the C-level tournaments, being in the middle of the pack, upper end of the middle of Sunbelt Conference standings. So, it could be a good year. It could be another bad year this year. It's really a 50-50 toss-up.
Now, Dusty, you were talking about how it's a lot of new faces with the Warhawks. Completely different animal in Jonesboro. The team that we saw last year is almost 100% the team we're going to get this year, with the addition of a guy named Desi Sills, who was a state champion from Jonesboro High back in the day, went to the University of Arkansas. He was on that Elite 8 Arkansas team from last season, decided to transfer, was first connected with Auburn. Auburn and Desi did not hook up in the way that they thought they would. Now he's back at Arkansas State. And we're actually pretty excited about the season. We've got the offensive player of the rookie of the Sunbelt Rookie of the Year with Norchad Omir. We've got all these guys returning, so they know how to play with each other. So, I think it's sort of a make it or break it year for Coach Pilato. He's finally got the team that he wants. He's got the superstar that he wants. So now we're going to see how that works out in Jonesboro, and hopefully it'll lead to some wins. But we're not going to talk about Arkansas State. We're not going to talk about the Warhawks right now. We're going to talk about Troy Trojans and Scott Cross. I feel like Scott Cross is right there when it comes to X's and O's. And for recruiting, I think that he is a great talent. I think he's somebody that when you see his basketball teams play, they're always very exciting, always very fundamental, always very big. I remember those Scott Cross teams at UTA just having dominating forwards and big men out there. So I'm actually looking forward to see how Scott Cross says he's going to rebuild the Trojans, who had some years of moderate success in the last 5, not last year, of course, but they're a team that you can build on. I would like to see what Scott Cross's plan is for that.
And he joins us now to talk Troy Trojan
in the green room?
Basketball. He was apparently. He's stuck in the back door or something. Coach, welcome in.
Well, it's going really good. Obviously, we've got a lot more players on our roster this year with the super seniors coming back. Nick Stampling and Khalil Waters for us, and we were able to basically, I guess you would say, oversign because of the super seniors with 2 guys, and then we have 3 walk-ons. So we have 18 guys. So, I mean, it's really, really helped our intensity in practices. We're able to have 3, full groups of 5 plus a sub. So you can do a lot of different things. It just we're way, way far ahead of where we were at this point last year, just because of the numbers and having a full roster. And so it's I like what I see so far. Our guys have really been getting after it. There's a lot more talent than what we've had in the previous 2 years. I think we addressed our shooting deficiencies. I think we addressed our kind of deficiency of not being very big or physical inside with a couple of guys. And so I like what I see so far.
Scott, Coach Cross, that's probably a better way to say it. Coach, when I think of those old UTA teams, I think of big teams. I think of big forwards. I think of big inside men. Do you have that at Troy this year? You're talking about maybe we need to get a little bit bigger. Are you still looking to get bigger, or are you thinking maybe this is the team that is the right size as it is?
No, I think this team definitely is more like those teams in terms of size. Those teams that we had Big Link Kabadut Ayunde, who was 7'1", maybe even 7'2". Well, actually, his younger brother signed here, Nate Shamanga. Nate's not quite as big as Link. He's 6'10", but he plays a small forward. So very, very agile, has great feet, very good finisher. So, I mean, you could see us playing a 6'10" guy at the small forward. Effie Odeji is a transfer from UTEP. We recruited him really, really hard, myself and Coach Mangrum. When we were at UTA, that was one of the last guys that we recruited. He ended up signing at Fresno State. Then Rodney Terry took the UTEP job. He went with Coach Terry over to UTEP. Coach Jones, who was on staff there at Fresno, was staying to hopefully get the head job there. It didn't work out. And so, now Coach Jones is on my staff. And so basically we had 3 guys that recruited him really, really hard, coming out of high school. And so it kind of fell in our lap. And, he's every bit of 6'8", 250 pounds, can really score the basketball, has a lot of maturity, works his butt off. I mean, he's a guy that's in there just about every morning before we even start practicing, working on his game. And, he's definitely helped our culture. He's raised the bar for us. We were doing our defensive boot camp a couple weeks ago. And, I gave the guys a short water break, and he made all the guys stand up. He's like, it's boot camp. We don't sit down in boot camp. And I was like, all right, great idea. We'll make it a little bit harder. And so from that point forward, it was an hour and a half straight of defensive drills. I give them maybe 3 water breaks, for a minute, so they're on their feet moving the entire time. And so I like the mentality that he brings, and he'll definitely give us an inside presence and some toughness inside.
Well, Coach Cross, you just talked about recruiting, how you've been recruiting players. How did Troy recruit you? How did that happen? How did you end up in Troy, Alabama?
So I guess when we came in the FunBelt, I remember going on a jog down the main street by Troy and running down the football field, by the baseball field, down by the arena, by the golf course, tennis courts, and just thinking like, man, this is a really pretty campus. Like, this is nice. And then obviously we know what happened in Arlington. And then I was fortunate enough to get on with Coach Dixon at TCU, and then this job came available. I have an agent, Will Reese, and I guess they reached out to him. I met with the athletic director at the time, and we had some good conversations. There was a couple other jobs that were open, but this was one that I just because of that experience there in the facility, that I knew it was a spot. I felt like that it had everything that you need to be successful. And, my wife liked the idea of it because it's 2.5 hours from Destin. So it was kind of a little bit easier to convince the family to move. And it definitely worked out and was a blessing.
As a big fan of not only Sunbelt Conference basketball, but of you, I remember when you were a player, we were talking earlier, I swear you never left UTA for like 20 years or something like that, because you went from player to assistant up to head coach. You are UTA in my mind as always. But now that you're down at Troy, it's been 4 long years since that Trojan team has been in the postseason to go to the big dance. What do you feel is the thing that you need to do to get this team going so that they can dance again?
Well, I think, the first thing was the culture, and that took a little bit longer. Not that it was a bad culture. I'm not saying that at all. It's just a different type of culture. Anytime you have a new head coach, there's a certain type of culture that coach wants. And so the players that kind of fit who I am, guys that are going to buy into who I am, how I coach, so it was a little bit longer process than I hoped. We had that thing rolling, and it was just kind of snowballing, and the culture kind of built itself, once we got it going. And so you just kind of assume that that's going to happen. Even though we were intentional about creating it, it just didn't happen quite as fast as we liked. I do think we're right there in terms of culture. I think we have that established. Even last year, I thought we were really good defensively. The numbers may not show how good we were defensively because we were so bad offensively that you turn the ball over, you miss some shots, it leads to a lot easier baskets versus those UTA teams were putting the ball in the hole at a high clip, which helps your defense. So I thought whenever we got back and we got our defense set, I thought we were really good in the half court defensively. And it showed in the conference tournament and in the game against Arlington. Like, that shows like kind of what we're able to do when we play at a high level. And I think our guys, they kind of clicked in that game. And if we can, get to the point where we're playing like that consistently defensively, I think we can be definitely have an opportunity to compete for a championship.
We had Commissioner Keith Gill on a couple weeks back, and he talked about the schedule kind of going back to a normal. Did you like the schedule last year where it was the doubleheader, or do you like the kind of traditional, you'll see the teams twice in the year but not back to back?
Yeah, I mean, it was mixed. I mean, part of it, I guess, was good. You play Friday, Saturday, you save a lot of money on budgets. You're home, you see your family. Saturday night, you have a Sunday off. That part was good. It did get a little bit monotonous playing 4 teams, and not playing some of the other teams. That was a little bit, of a challenge. But I was just glad that we had a season. I'm glad that we are getting back to a little bit normal of a schedule, and looking forward to playing every team in the league because, I think if you're going to crown a true champion, you have to play everybody. Otherwise, you're looking at, is the East better than the West or West better than the East? And I think on any given year, that can kind of go back and forth. But I think it's good, the direction that we're going now.
So, Coach, we were talking a little bit about your history in the Sun Belt. You're almost like the patriarch of Sun Belt coaches in a way. You've been so embedded with the Sun Belt for a long time, as a player, as a coach. You've seen it all. One of the things the Sun Belt seems to have trouble with is putting it's very best team into the NCAA tournament. It seems like something always thwarts that process. I know at UTA you've been thwarted before by a hot team in the Sun Belt tournament. Is there any way to fix that in any way that Keith Gill hasn't thought of before, or is it just going to have to be the luck of the draw?
I mean, the only way that I think you can truly fix it is by taking the actual league winner, and have that be your automatic bid, and then have the tournament and maybe find a way to send that, the winner of that tournament to go to the NIT if it's a different team. Other than that, I think honestly, the Sun Belt probably did it the best when, you had double buys. I think that definitely, gives the top teams a huge advantage. We had the unfortunate deal where Jalen Jones, our second leading scorer, broke his wrist in the quarterfinal game. And then, we played Texas State the next day, and you play against a good Danny Casper defensive team, and it's going to be hard to score. And so, we ran into some bad luck, but I think that's probably the only way to do it. I mean, the thing about it, like the Sun Belt is so even, like we finished at the bottom of the league, but I felt like, honestly, we could have beat just about anybody on the right night. The night that we won that game in the tournament, we probably could have beat just about any team the way we played in that game. And so I think you'll see even more of that. I think the Sun Belt is going to be the best it's ever been from top to bottom since I've been a part of the league. I don't think there's going to be any easy games. I think every team's got players. I think in general, all of college basketball may be at its best this year just because of the super seniors, because everybody's, the 13th, the 12th, 11th, 12th, 13th guy on the team are leaving, and then you're replacing them with top JUCO guys, top transfers, or even high school guys that you probably couldn't have got 2 or 3 years ago. So I think college basketball is going to be its best this year.
You just said that you thought the Sun Belt was going to be really good this year. And I feel like the Sun Belt has just periods where it's not playing very good basketball. And then some years it does play good basketball. Who do you think is going to be good this season? Besides Troy? We know Troy's going to be good, but who are you looking for in the radar?
Well, there's a lot of teams, but I think, you have to start with Georgia State. They returned their whole team. They've had success. They beat Georgia Tech last year. We saw what Georgia Tech did, at the end of last year. So, they have to be at the top. You look at what Louisiana has coming back. They're absolutely loaded. Even our rival South, the number of guys, 4 and 5 star guys, they're signing guys that I was recruiting at TCU. So they're absolutely loaded. App State, you saw what they were capable of doing. They're bringing back their entire team. Cliff Ellis has more wins than all of us combined. Plus he's got good talent there. There's Arkansas State. They had a great little run there at the end of the season. Their whole team, it looks like, is returning. They're adding the Arkansas transfer that's as good as any player in the league. I could probably go on and on and on, but those are the ones that, come to mind right off the top. But I
absolutely.
think,
we love hearing that, Scott.
Yeah.
We just like hearing good news about the Sun Belt. We really want to see the Sun Belt have a great run, not just out of conference, but hopefully in the tournament too.
Yeah, I'm betting that there's going to be a lot of non-conference upsets where the Sun Belt goes on the road and plays a guaranteed game. I bet there's going to be at least 5 of those if I was guessing this year, at least 5.
So, you have several of those, and notably week 2, you go to Butler. How did that game kind of come about? Is that kind of just a bucket list for you that you want to go up to Indianapolis or?
Yeah, that's a great place to play. I did get to visit it one year during the Final Four. There was a 3-on-3 kind of hoop it up tournament there. And this was, I don't know, second or third year when I could still play a little bit. And so we went there. I actually played Mike Anderson in the 3-on-3, and man, he was getting after it. But yeah, I mean, it was an awesome just basketball atmosphere, and so Coach Worley on our staff does a great job with scheduling. He saw that there was a need there, that they were offering, quite a significant amount for a guaranteed check, and it worked out, and we were able to get it done.
Would you rather play kind of those pristine places or the power places, I guess you would call it, or do you like the mid majors like you have with Tennessee Tech and Mercer later on in the season?
Well, I mean, I think if you have a team that's a veteran team that's probably picked to win the league, I would say then, some of those schools like Butler that are, in a little bit higher league that, may be offering some money. We were able to do that a couple times during my time in Arlington. Then I think it really, really does help you. I think the one thing for the FunBelt for elevating the conference, in my opinion, is a conference we have to get away from the guarantees. We have to get away from the non-division ones, and we have to play as many home and homes, and we have to get as many home games as possible. So once we get to the point where we're putting enough people in the stands to where we're able to buy games, that's when you'll see the FunBelt really, really elevate. And so, right now, quite a few of the teams are having to bring in money. That's just part of it. And, I know every coach, does what they're expected to do. But if you look at all the Power Five, you look at the next couple of conferences after that, they're all buying games. And I think that's how you really take the conference to the next level.
I remember a couple seasons ago, before Gil even came aboard, the call was for the FunBelt to start playing more peer conferences, CUSA, for instance, MAC, and those type of places. I would really like to see somewhere in the middle of the season a little bit what the SEC and the Big 12 does is they take some time off the conference play and play each other for almost kind of like a tournament. Just give some real interest in these regional places that don't normally get to play each other. Would you advocate for something like that, or do you look at that and say, that's a gimmick, that's really not anything we want to interrupt our conference play for?
No, I think that's a great idea. I mean, if it's a light conference, it's hard to schedule games. Everybody, when they schedule, they're trying to schedule as many W's as possible. That would be great for the leadership of the FunBelt to go ahead and get that assigned. So we know we have 1 or 2 games every year from this conference or that conference. And I think that is another way where you can elevate the conference. You're able to win 8 or 9 out of the 12 games that you play against a conference that may be 1 or 2 higher on paper than us. Then all of a sudden, it makes a case that our conference is definitely a level above. So yeah, definitely would be for that.
You spoke earlier about changing the culture. As I said, I'm a big Scott Cross fan, so I know all about taking the stairs. Tell our listeners what that means to you and kind of how that drives the culture of your programs.
Well, it just means, not taking shortcuts in anything that we do. Like, I want our guys to kind of have a hard hat mentality. I don't want them looking for the easy way out, because for us to win a championship, we're going to have that mentality. We're not going to go in there and out talent Georgia State or South Alabama or Louisiana. I mean, they're loaded. I mean, they got 4- and 5-star dudes. We have really good players too, but for us to be successful, we got to adopt that hard hat mentality that we're going to be great defensively. We're going to dive on the floor. We're going to get deflections. We're going to take charges, and not just, on the basketball court, but in life, in the classroom. That means, turning in your homework on time. It means in the locker room, picking up the trash, putting up your stool. It means, having your shirt tail tucked in and not having a coach tell you. It means taking accountability and ownership for the program. And that's what I want our guys to do. And I see a lot of that in our guys. Like, they're starting to coach each other. Like, before I'd have to, drive and say this over and over and over again. Now, if I tell the guys, hey, get behind the line, I say it one time, then the next time they're like, hey, get behind the line. Or, we tell them one time to tuck their shirt in. I don't have to tell them again. Whereas, in previous years, I'd have to tell them 4 or 5 times. And it was just, certain guys maybe weren't all the way bought in, and we're past that now. I feel like we have just about everybody bought in, and I do think that it's going to translate to a lot better of a record this year, but only time will tell on that.
Right. So, Scott, when the season starts and the play starts, who do we need to look out for from Troy Trojans? Who's going to be that guy that just springs out on the floor and stands out better than anybody else? Well, maybe that's unfair. Maybe I'm going to say, who's somebody that we didn't expect to stand out is going to stand out this year?
Yeah, because I would say we would be one of the most balanced teams in the league. I don't foresee us having a 20-point score, but I see us having, 6-7 guys that could get 10 on any given night. Nick Stampley, obviously he's our, leading returning scorer. He was 6'4", playing the center. He'll be playing a little bit more on the power forward. Probably a name that, you probably haven't heard about as much that could have a really good year would be a guy, Cody Dean, that transferred from Panola. He's not very tall, but man, he's got a heart as big as this room, and he's tough, and he can shoot as good as anybody that I've ever coached. And so with that competitiveness and fire and shooting ability, I think he's going to have a really good year.
You were talking about this short guy with a lot of heart. Can you think of anybody in the FunBelt over the many years that you would have to face and go, oh God, not this guy again?
Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a few of them. Actually, I remember coming here and playing Wesley Person, and
yes,
he had 10 threes against us in a game, and I think we fouled him on 3 or 4 of them, and he made them all. And so he had like 3 or 4 opportunities to get 4-point plays. But I remember him being a guy that, absolutely scared me to death. I'll tell you another one was Coach Hunter's son. He absolutely terrified me. Every time I think we had a lead, maybe a 3-point lead with a couple seconds left. And he caught it and he shot it from about the volleyball line, fading away, makes it. Game goes in overtime. We lose in overtime. We played about as good as we possibly could have played, and he just willed them to win. But I mean, yeah, there's been so many. Well, here's another one. Devontae Jones probably scared me as much as any player I've ever went. If you go back and you look at our games on the road, we played them. We had them down, I think, 20. And down the stretch, he just willed them the victory. He got steal after steal, offensive rebound, probably scored the last 12 points of each game. I mean, just a phenomenal player. So, yeah, there's been a lot of them. There's a lot of very, very talented guys. I think that guy's going to have an amazing year at Michigan. I think he's a guy who stayed one more year, probably could have went to the NBA from the FunBelt, but he's a special talent.
Yeah, that Wesley Person, he and I think it was Vernada was his sort of big man running mate on that team, and
he scared us too.
Yeah, I know. I as an Arkansas State guy, I hated those guys. They were so good. So yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. I had also one last question too. There's some rumors, there's some talk that UTA and University of Arkansas or at Little Rock will be phased out of the Sun Belt in the next couple of years. Do you have any thought on that? The basketball only schools, does that affect you in any way as you're preparing for this season?
It doesn't affect me at all. I mean, obviously I have zero say on that. I mean, I think both of them provide a lot basketball wise for us, but I don't, I know a lot of everything is football driven, and I love going to the football games here in the Sun Belt Conference, and football is really, really good. I mean, you can see that through the scores each week. So, I don't have any information on that, but whatever they do, if they're here, we'll treat it just like any other game. And if they're gone, I know they're going to bring in teams that are really, really good, just like them. So, no matter how you slice it and dice it, the conference is always going to be tough, and you better be ready to play every single night.
So you traded sort of your chief rival, Texas State, to now South Alabama.
And unfortunately, I've not fared too well in that series. Thought we had them down there this past year, and we let it slip through our hands. So yeah, we're looking to definitely change that. We have to, because I know how important that game is, not just to me, but the fans and the administration. So yeah, we have that game circled for sure.
Yeah, I blame all that still on Ronnie Arrow from his days at South Alabama. I think his ghost is still in that place. I know he's alive and well and all, but I think that his coaching is still going up and down the sidelines and propelling them to victory over and over again.
That guy is a grinder, man. He worked his tail off, and I remember my very, very first year he was at Corpus Christi, and so I was running all kinds of junk defenses, trying to mess with people. And I remember we hopped into like a triangle and two, and it was like their guys immediately went to set. And like I went back and watched it, and my eyes just got big. I was like, okay, welcome to the big leagues. Now this dude is a coach. Like I was amazed at how prepared he had those guys, and it was like they didn't even blink. And so, that he was really, really good for sure.
Well, Coach Cross, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of the day here to join us on the FunBelt podcast, talking FunBelt basketball. Look forward to talk to you. Maybe we'll be able to talk to you right before Pensacola, and we're talking about how you're the 1 seed, and you'll have time for us on the Wednesday night before you got to play on the Saturday.
Hey, we're the 1 seed. You got as much time as you need.
Guarantee we'll be asking for it.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Glad Force Flex Max Strength now has bags with a 2-time stronger top for over-the-top strength. Like the kind of over-the-top strength you need when cooking your first turkey.
Why is this thing still hard as a rock? It's been in the oven for hours. Wait, hang on. What do you mean I was supposed to start thawing yesterday? And there's a plastic bag inside? Who's in the mood for takeout?
Glad Force Flex Max Strength. Strong enough for all of life's garbage. 2-time stronger top versus 13-gallon Force Flex bags.